Let's try again. Hopefully this one is gonna work. Um, Sarah, if you're watching, can you please go back through and move everything from the last video over to this one? Okay, now hopefully this one is working. um, okay, so I was talking about this time of the year and how it can be hard, even if, like, before everything about 2020 was happening, where people are isolated and being alone in their house and stuff like that, not being able to travel for the holidays, all that type of stuff. It can be hard already when you're having to deal with narcissists, when you know that you're going to be around people who are narcissistic for the holidays and how to handle all of that. And some people will choose to just skip the gatherings altogether, and that's hard. That's hard too. That's hard to make that decision to just rather forego, getting together with people when the atmosphere is encouraging you to do that, right? Culture encourages you to do that, and to kind of put aside, regardless of what's happening the rest of the year, at least this time of the year, you should get together with your family. You should get together with those closest to you. And that can be like a real challenge for people who are trying to recover from narcissistic abuse. And I was thinking about this because we were talking about this at church yesterday, about why people feel isolated. And isolation, a lot of people feel isolated and they don't need to feel that way. So I I remember a time a couple of years ago, a few years ago, I was feeling really horrible about the holiday season. I didn't want to celebrate. I felt like I had nothing to celebrate. I didn't want to be put into an atmosphere that was like joyful, because I wasn't feeling that way. I wasn't feeling grateful. I wasn't feeling like I really wanted to connect with people. I wasn't wanting to be around people, all this kind of stuff. So I completely understand how it can be just draining. Instead of giving you energy, the holiday songs and seeing other people so happy, it instead of like making you feel that way, it can drain you. So I totally get that. And I actually was so depressed. I was so depressed that I was seriously, not jokingly, praying that every night when I would go to sleep, like, let this be my last night. I'm tired. I've done a lot of stuff in my life. I feel like I've had enough time here. I'm ready to go to heaven. So I was praying this, and I was getting more frustrated because every day I would wake up. And that kind of low is really hard to deal with, especially during the holidays. But that's really where I was feeling. And I was really, one day I just woke up and I was like, okay, well, I don't know if this prayer is going to get answered. So I need to figure out what I need to do to get out of this space that I was in. And one of the main things that I felt was that I was alone. I have a really large family. I have like 54 first cousins on my mom's side alone. I have a lot of siblings. They're married, and I have nieces and nephews. They all lived near me at the time. We all lived next to each other. So it wasn't the amount of people in my life. It wasn't the amount of people that I knew. It was the connections that I had with them that was making me feel isolated. So what I did was I sat down and I wrote down people that I felt like truly cared about me, who I could also be honest with, that I could call, if I was really having a hard day, I really truly could call them, and uh, and they would be able to listen to me, to handle whatever I was saying to them, and that they would give me sound advice, not just kind of like generic stuff. I wanted somebody who would be able to like kind of match the level, the depth that I was at. And when I did this, I actually came up with a lot of people. I wrote down quite a few names. And so I was thinking about that, like, okay, if I have this many people in my life who I can be honest with, who I can call, who I feel truly do care about me. Your family does care about you, but there's just another level of what I'm talking about here. It's not just like I love you because you're part of my family, and I kind of have to. This was not that. I was talking about true connection, people that I really felt I could be myself with. So I made this whole list, and when I did, I was looking at these names and I was thinking to myself why I was still feeling so empty, so lonely, so not connected with people. And I recognized that it was because I didn't take a step in the direction of nurturing that connection. Our society doesn't I don't feel our society does a good job of teaching people how to be vulnerable, of teaching people how to be real and how to have honest conversations, even scary conversations, honest conversations that are super uncomfortable, that are super scary, overwhelming, whatever. And I don't feel like our society does a good job of teaching people that, first of all, it's okay to do that, and second of all, making people who are healthy enough to have those conversations with other people. So creating people who are safe spaces where you can have those kinds of conversations. So first of all, I recognize like I didn't make the first move by not being vulnerable, and I needed to make a change if I wanted that kind of connection. So I put all of these people like down, and I sent them individually, one by one, messages with a different part of how I was feeling, and asking them to reach out to me, asking if I could call them if they had time to talk on the phone or whatever. And I and every single one of them messaged me back. So the lack of connection in my life wasn't because I didn't have enough people, and it wasn't that I didn't have enough healthy people. It was that I didn't make the first step of being vulnerable, of being real with my friends, with people who I was calling friends, but I wasn't actually doing the things that friends do, right? I wasn't telling them I need help. I need you to call me. I'm not doing well. I feel so lonely. I feel so helpless. I needed to make the change that I for my life. And this is still true for every single one of us. I talk about this all the time in my channel. I teach my clients healthy ways to develop these types of habits and behaviors so that they can know exactly how to find people and start building connections with them, so that once they are recovered, once they recover from the abuse, from the trauma that they just experienced being with a narcissist, maybe being raised by a narcissist, whatever the situation may be, that they're able to truly enter into healthy relationships, healthy connections, and that they have all of the skills necessary to not only find those people, but be one of those people. So it's a symbiotic relationship, right? And um, and honestly, some of the people that I have these connections with, I had to find by trial and error. Not every single person that you think is a healthy person that presents themselves as a safe place is that. Sometimes you do have to do trial and error. And I know that this is a hard season. Like I said, I have a video that talks about dealing with narcissists during the holidays and how to set up boundaries and how to set up appropriate ways to handle narcissists, canned responses to narcissist questions, all that type of stuff. When I'm done with this, I'll put the link in the video. Actually, Sarah, if you're watching, can you put the link? Can you put the link in the video for the one that I did last year, please? Um, so practical, like if you already plan to be around the narcissist for the holiday season, that is a good video for that. But I'm talking about something deeper right now. I'm talking about something that is like lasting, something that isn't just beneficial for the holiday season. However, the holidays, I feel like, do present themselves an opportune time for us. It is the time where people are wanting to connect. They want to participate in this overall atmosphere that's out there. So if you find yourself right now, like you just feel like you're stuck, you don't feel like you have a lot of people who care about you, or a lot of people that you can trust or open up with or whatever, I wonder if that's true. Sometimes that can be true. That can be true because we were never taught how to do that. We never developed the skills ourselves to attract those types of people into our lives, to be one of those people for other people, all that kind of stuff. So it can be true. but more likely than not, we actually have made connections with people who are trustworthy, who have proven themselves over and over again, but we have not taken a step our own selves in the direction of deepening that connection, of solidifying that connection, of growing the friendship and the relationship, whatever. So I if you're feeling lonely, I want to remind you that you need to take the first step in the right direction for your life. People don't know what's going on with you unless you tell them. They don't know what the situation is. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me read this comment. I'm so sorry to hear about that. Okay, guys, also on the live stream, I cannot, this is sometimes too many things going on. Okay, Sarah pulled it up. Never mind. I'm sorry. You guys, sometimes the comments go away, but that's only on this screen. Sarah emailed me the link, so I'm able to see it. Okay, I am so sorry about that situation with your kids. Um, uh, One of the things, too, to keep into perspective is that, first of all, 2020 was a crazy year. 2020 was an insane year. And regardless of that, every year around this time, in fact, hi from Norway. Hi, welcome. Um, it's important to look at the things that you did well, the strengths that you developed, the skills that you developed, and think about how you are going to, develop those further moving forward. A lot of people talk about like the things that like identifying your weaknesses, and yeah, I agree with that, because part of knowing yourself, right? Like you should know your weaknesses, you should know what's lacking in your life, all that type of stuff. But you know what, a lot of that stuff is to point you to your strength. A lot of time people can find their weakness and then they're like, okay, I've identified my weakness, and they just let it sit there, and then they feel bad about themselves because they just identify a whole bunch of weaknesses with no outcome. The weaknesses are pointing you to your strengths. And a lot of times it's because what we're calling a weakness is actually just not your calling. That's somebody else's calling. So if you can identify like, this is not my calling, I need to find somebody who's good in this area who can help me with this thing. Unless it's a character issue, like a moral or ethical problem that you have in yourself that you need to develop and work on, like only you can do that. If this is something I'm talking about, like in skill sets or abilities, if this is not something that you have a passion for, that you have a desire for, but you can identify it as a weakness, that's just because that's not your calling. It's the time of the year everybody pretends to be jolly. Yeah, exactly. So maybe this year, stop pretending. This year, look for the people that you want to make a connection with and do that. Actually strengthen that connection. Actually invest in that. And go back to the video at the beginning to talk about that. I've been watching many of your videos and I wanted to say thank you. I learned a lot from your channel. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm glad that it's been helpful. So y'all, hi there. Hi, Anthony. Yeah, so you guys have to recognize that hard times, uncomfortable seasons are actually revealing the place that you need to push into more. Sometimes you feel, good morning. All right, if it's morning there, good morning. It's afternoon here. When you feel uncomfortableness, that's showing you a place that you didn't explore enough. Because even the deepest pains, that emotion will leave you. That memory may never leave you. You may still feel sadness or have some sort of like lingering thing, but it won't be like so uncomfortable that you can't look at that you can't explore it, or that you break down crying or having anxiety or whatever whenever you look at it. When the thing is uncovered, you can actually press into it and embrace it and remember it without it triggering all sorts of emotional responses as well, if that makes sense. So when you find the places, this is like a very long subject to explain in a quick live. I have clients all day, so I can't make this a long one. But when you find that place that's uncomfortable, hi from England. Hi, Jacqueline. Thank you for joining. When you find that place that's uncomfortable, it's actually revealing to you there's a place here that you didn't explore. There's some part of you that you didn't explore. Actually, tonight, I think, is my video. I'm releasing a video tonight that's called get to know yourself more or something like that, and like how to do it. And so I'll explain that more, I think, in this video. But when you find an uncomfortable place, so you don't want to be alone for the holidays, you're feeling uncomfortable about the holidays, it's a place where you can explore that space more. That there's a reason that you feel your emotions, there's a reason that you have feelings, but a lot of us are opposed to feeling uncomfortable, pain, anger, sadness, any kind of thing that isn't happy, right? By the way, why do people think that you should only feel happiness? You can't, there is no such thing as happiness without sadness. You cannot feel only one kind of thing. That's a robot. That's like a robot only feeling one thing. You have to learn how to embrace all of the feelings and experiences. That's what being human is all about. So you're cutting your humanity and your experience here short if you don't learn how to handle all of these emotions, your own self. This Christmas, I've almost been alone with my father. I haven't been able to establish my own family. Me and Dad don't get along, but it feels enmeshed. Sometimes breaking away from these types of relationships where it is like so much out of habit, it isn't the best time to do this during the holidays, to try to make that split. But it is important that you use the holiday season, again, to have it point to the place. That's right. Even Jesus wasn't happy all the time. Yes, good point. Exactly. That's right. Because it's really part of being human. You have a whole range of emotions. So like if you have, let's say if you had 10 acres of land, why would you settle for one? Why would you only go exploring on one? And that's what people do with their emotions. They push away all of the other things and they try to just ignore it. By the way, that stuff is just like piling up, so you're never going to ignore it. That stuff is just going to shout louder and louder at you because you're trying to ignore it, and it's going to come out in other areas of your life. There is no such thing as compartmentalization. You can get better at time management and learning how to feel your emotions during certain times of the day, like processing wise. But there is no such thing as compartmentalization. So if you think that I'm just not going to deal with this one area over here in my life and it's not going to affect the other areas, you're completely wrong. You're completely wrong. You're trying to justify your behavior instead of identifying the issue and dealing with the issue itself. So anyway, going back to the comment. So sometimes right now during the holidays, it's not the best time to try to break away from these enmeshed relationships where it's totally codependent. It's an unhealthy situation. But the holiday is going to point out to you the things that are missing, the things that you wish were changed, the unhealthy, as you mentioned, connection that maybe you have with your dad, and what you could do. It gives you time to think about what you could do different. Don't live the same year 75 times and call it a life, right? You need to take this time in general to reflect upon what happened this year. And as I was saying, your strengths, your weaknesses, so that you have a plan moving forward. Your plan doesn't need to be like an overall, like super elaborate thing. Are you growing? Are you making progress to where you want to be? That can be good enough. That is good enough. And it's okay for you to say that's good enough. Your success doesn't need to look like everybody else's. But connection, it's impossible to have a fulfilled life without it. And so if you're feeling lonely during the holidays, I just really encourage you to do what I said at the beginning of this video, like make a list of the people that you feel connected to in your life, that you feel are safe, that you have that have been with you through difficult things, or vice versa, and just reach out to them, because a lot of times those connections that feel distant, it's just because you haven't taken a step towards them, and you are responsible for your life. So you need to take a step in the direction that you want to be going in. I was discarded in October after 27 years of marriage. He's with a new, yeah, I'm doing okay. Thanks for your help. Jacqueline, I'm sorry that happened, but I'm telling you, that's a blessing in disguise. You're going to have the ability to experience your life to the fullest without somebody trying to confine you into this small space. You are not meant to take up this small space when you are supposed to have this huge life. So I know that that's hard, and I'm sorry that that happened. But it's never too late to start over, and I think that this is a blessing, and I really hope that you're able to see it that way. Um, if not now, then in the future. And I'm glad that this channel has helped you come to that conclusion. My kids were a comfort and safety to me. Now that they've been taken from me, I realize that God alone is my comfort and safety. Okay, real quick, I have to go in 7 minutes. I have a client, so but let me just, oh, thank you for the donation. Thank you so much. Cool. I didn't know that you guys could do that. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, you guys, really quick, let me just explain something to you all about energy really fast. Everything is energy. The whole everything. The whole universe is energy. When you tap into a supply of energy that is not supposed to be your supply of energy, it will always seek to reject you. And by the way, everything in your life will revolt about you being connected to that source of energy, because it's less than what you were created for. It's less than your destiny. You're settling for something that was never written in your book of life. It's not for you, and everything about that will revolt about it, which is why so much stuff will seem to be going wrong all at one time. It's because everything is connected, and it's all trying to revolt against that. When you get connected to the true source of energy, everything will flow from that. When you get connected into your divine alignment, the exact place that you're supposed to be, everything else will flow from that. Your connections will flow from that. Your resources will flow from that. Your purpose, everything, it will all flow from that space. And because it will be on the right frequency. Everything is energy. Everything is about that. So this year was really about the shaking. It was waking people up about all of the areas where they have been settling for. There's not a person on the planet who didn't experience that, who didn't experience, like, you know what, I'm really unhappy with that. We had a lot of downtime. We had a lot of quiet time to recognize the things that we were too busy to want to fix. We had too many distractions, so we never felt the need to go back and change things. This year, we didn't have that. We didn't have the luxury of being too busy, of being too preoccupied. We had quiet time for this reason, because there's way too many people out there not connected to the right source, not doing what they're supposed to do, and settling for a life that they were not created to live. So I just want to throw that out there really quick. I gotta go because I have a client, you guys, but thank you for joining me for this live video. Merry Christmas. And yes, I'm beginning to see it as a blessing. Yes. Happy holidays. Yep. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, you guys. So tonight, my video, like I said, is about how to start exploring yourself and meeting yourself. By the way, everybody's on this journey. Nobody's ever done doing it. No one's ever done discovering who they are and what they should be doing here. It's so, don't look at it as like an end destination. It's a process, which most things in life are. Okay, you guys, thanks so much again for joining. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Merry Christmas, and I will see you next time I do a live.